From the band Titus Andronicus, please welcome Patrick Stickles.
All right, thanks a lot. It's a great honor to be here amongst all these very luminous people and to be at this great store. Be sure before you leave to check out the books, lots of good ones. Great independent bookseller. Anyway, I'm going to take you now really far back in time for me. The year 2003. The day, February the 15th. And I was a boy of 17 years old from Glen Rock, New Jersey, which is about 12 miles west of the George Washington Bridge, which is a really nice place to grow up, but a little boring. Not a lot going on. You know, great place to get into mischief and stuff, but not the most intellectual stimulation maybe. But luckily, there was this other magical place off in the distance where we are now, New York City, which I still think is really cool. I've lived here for a few years, but I still think it's a magic place. But in those days, it was really magical and mysterious, and a world away from the stuff that I knew in New Jersey. So, this being the beginning of 2003, the war in Iraq was imminent. We all remember that whole thing. A lot of people didn't think that this was so great. I didn't either. Not that I was the most well-informed guy at 17, but my brother was in the Navy, and it looked like if there was some kind of invasion that he would go. So we were all pretty scared. Anyway, so there was this huge protest organized because a lot of people agreed that it was a bad idea to do this thing. And all over the world, in 60 countries, 300 cities, including New York City. This has been called the single biggest mobilization of humans in history for any purpose, or certainly the biggest anti-war demonstration. Some estimates say that between 6 and 10 million people worldwide participated, but I also saw some propaganda about it that said that 14 million people maybe did. We don't know for sure. But somewhere around 300,000 or 400,000 people came to New York, including me and a few of my buddies who rode this special bus, this kind of peace bus with the other liberals from Glen Rock. And that was a very exciting thing. You know, we felt like something really auspicious was about to happen. And, you know, indeed it was auspicious. It was historic for all the reasons I just mentioned. And I can't really remember a lot of the particular details, like there were speakers and stuff who I don't really remember, but the excitement of being involved in something so much bigger than yourself and the experiences that you'd had up to that point, kind of an awakening to the wider world, beyond our little small town concerns, although they stayed hugely important to us afterwards. So anyway, that was a really thrilling, electrifying, energizing day, and we were all amped up. And that evening, after the festivities were over, we all went up to 52nd Street and Broadway to go to Roseland Ballroom, where my grandparents had danced as young lovers to the big bands of their time. But for me and my friends, the band was Slater-Kinney, who, if you don't know them, are a punk band from Olympia, Washington, who started in 1994. And at this point, just as I was at a crucial juncture in my life. They were at a crucial juncture in their career. I don't know if you realize this, but Roseland Ballroom is a very big place. When it's standing room only, which it was on this night, you can get about 3,500 people in there. And I don't know if they sold all the tickets, but it looked like they had sold most of them. And previously, Slater-Kinney had played places like Irving Plaza, which is like a third the size. It was certainly a perfectly respectable place to play. But Slater-Kinney was achieving new heights of popularity. They had just put out their album One Beat the previous year, which everybody really liked, including me and my friends, and we'd seen them at the Siren Festival the year before on Coney Island, which was another really exciting train ride. And so we were all amped up and everyone was really thrilled. So the first band of the night was the Black Keys, if you can believe it, who were on their first US tour. I think this might have been their first show in New York. That's all I'll say about that. The second band was Blonde Redhead, who were really great too, and I really liked them because they had two twin brothers in the band, which was very visually arresting. Even though one of the brothers had a beard and the other one didn't, they still looked a lot alike. And finally, the amazing Slater-Kinney came out, and Corin Tucker, who is like the lead singer of the group, even though the other two sing a lot as well, she said, "Thank you for protesting the war, and thank you in advance for shaking your ass," which I thought was a great way to explain the kind of dichotomous promise that punk had. You know, because being a young 17-year-old, I kind of thought that punk was kind of a little more boneheaded, potentially. Not that I didn't think that was just perfect anyway. But like the Ramones and Rancid and stuff like that I was listening to, it wasn't all that progressive maybe. But Slater-Kinney, each of them as musicians, pushed the limits of punk to untold levels of virtuosity while sacrificing none of the intensity or integrity that I held so dear as a little kid. Especially Carrie Brownstein, who was my favorite, and maybe you know her now as one of the stars of Portlandia, which I've seen a few times, but it wasn't as exciting as the concert. Anyway, that's pretty much all the time that I've got. We've got more luminous people, but I could go on and on. It was great stuff. And they would be broken up just a few short years later, so there it goes. You know? Okay, that's it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.